everyone, to a special edition of NFL Live. On deck today as the NFL celebrates its 100th season, just 6 weeks away. However, we are just 5 weeks away when college football opens its 150th anniversary. So today, welcome to NFLU. We're combining the two worlds to answer the age-old question: which college produces the best NFL talent? Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Nix, and look who's here. No one better to be on this panel. Our expert, notice I say expert talent evaluator, one Louis Riddick.
Pitt Panther right there.
Pitt Panther on the list, not on the list. Okay, Tim Hasselbeck, the quarterback guru. He and his brother won a lot of NFL games, a lot. And Ryan Clark.
You see the L's.
LSU. They are in the mix. College football analyst Jonathan Vilma getting mic'd up. He will join us shortly. He happened to win a BCS national championship. And oh, by the way, a Super Bowl as well. Coming up on NFL Live, we'll break down position by position which college produces the best quarterbacks. Oklahoma has the #1 overall pick the last 2 years. We have the top 10 plays of all the NFL superstars when they were in college. And answering that big question, which school produces the best all-time NFL talent, we had to ask the players themselves to kick things off.
With the first pick, quarterback, Oklahoma. Defensive end, Ohio State. Clemson. Oklahoma. Alabama. Clemson.
I think it's proven that Clemson is one of the top NFL factories.
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State University.
I don't hear nothing about no Alabama because I ain't never lost to Alabama. I beat Alabama.
You really can't understand it until you're inside the program and you're there.
It's all about the you.
So I was prepared for the NFL because of Georgia in every aspect.
But I think LSU creates an environment of great competition, and guys just try to feed off of it.
The University of Pittsburgh, hands down. You got Dorsett, Dan Marino, you got Larry Fitzgerald.
It's not a me show. It's about having everybody involved and working for the same goal.
Clemson and what Coach Sweeney has been doing, he's making people believe that everything is possible.
Ohio State's the best. Like, how aren't we? Like, come on. Stop it. Stop.
Well, let's start, shall we, with the most players from each college currently in the NFL. Alabama leads the way with 65 players, followed by Ohio State in second place with 58. So we're going to debate these two schools first in terms of who is the best at producing NFL talent. Here's a tale of the tape on Alabama and Ohio State's success since the 2000 draft. Both schools have had 31 first-round picks, the most of any school, while the Buckeyes have 13 more total picks in the last 20 drafts. But Bama's players have been slightly more successful in the league, producing 3 more Pro Bowlers than Ohio State. Louis Riddick, let's start with the Crimson Tide. Their starting 11, if you will, offense and defense, current NFL talent.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that these are both very impressive lineups, that if Alabama can roll these teams out there right now, I think they'd win a few games without a doubt. If you look at the offensive side of the ball, the first thing that jumps out at you, though, of these starting 11 are the 2 wide receivers. Look, Julio Jones is one of the finest athletes in the NFL, regardless of position. He's in the news right now because he's about to get a new contract extension, and he's just really one of the transcendent players at the position that this game has seen. Amari Cooper, the same way. When Amari came out of college, I remember doing his tape and thinking, quite honestly, as far as a catch and run wide receiver, I hadn't seen one as good as him in a long, long time. And on the defensive side, look, they have fine players throughout the 11 here. Really, though, when you get to the secondary and you see guys like Eddie Jackson, Landon Collins, I mean, these guys are just fantastic players. On the front, Dante Hightower, multiple-time Super Bowl winner. These are great, great players right here.
Let's make our way to Columbus, shall we?
Sure. When you go to Ohio State and you go to the offensive side of the football, look, the first name that jumps out at you, without a doubt, is Ezekiel Elliott, because if he's not the best running back in the NFL, he would be considered a top 3 running back in the NFL. Wide receiver Michael Thomas, really someone who was unheralded coming out of college. He's a tremendous, tremendous pro. Will probably be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL in short time. Then you move over to the defensive side of the ball. This is where really this football team really kind of jumps off the board. Just starting up front, Joey Bosa, Cam Hayward, those are 2 of the best defensive linemen in the NFL right now. And then when you look down there at the secondary, Malcolm Jenkins, Denzel Ward, Marshawn Lattimore, doesn't get much better than that.
All right, Jonathan Vilma made his way
Yes.
with us again.
Here.
Certainly qualified to weigh in on this discussion. Look, I mean, there's no shortage of talent with either of these squads. It's almost ridiculous. It's a factory in a lot of ways at both of these institutions, but let the debate begin. Ryan Clark, you can't pick LSU just yet, but when you look at this group, what stands out?
LSU is better than both of these teams.
Yeah, but we're going to get to that.
Wait, that's what stands out? Oh, I thought that was what we were supposed to be talking
Listen,
about.
let's be honest about what stands out. Let's be honest about what stands out, okay?
right,
There's
Jim.
amazing players. Neither one of them have a quarterback.
Right,
I mean, let's be honest.
But Alabama's quarterback has proven he
But what I'm
can't play.
saying, we haven't seen him yet, though, Lou.
I've seen him. I saw him last year.
We haven't seen him
You
in
haven't
the
seen him in the
pros.
NFL yet.
We haven't
You know what?
seen
You
him
know what?
in
But
the
that's
NFL.
not
Why
what
are
they
we?
do.
You know what's so interesting?
No.
I mean, why do we always have to see something first before we can get behind?
Well, I'm saying
I'm going to
from
give you
a
a
pro
reason,
Wait,
well-considered explanation as to why
I'll give you a
Dwayne
great example later, Lou.
Haskins.
I'll give you a great
Great job.
example.
Guys.
Trent Richardson,
right.
running back, right? You saw him in college. He was awesome in college. And what happened in the NFL?
Don't compare Trent Richardson to
Okay,
Dwayne Haskins.
just letting you know. Just letting you know.
Don't do that.
First of all,
with you.
one at a time, gentlemen. We're going to play nice. We got 90 minutes to go.
Sorry.
All right, no, you're
but
fine,
that's a
Jeff. You have a good point.
That is a glaring difference from every other position that we're looking at.
Okay, fair enough. Now, back to you, Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a production results-oriented industry, is it not? So it is fair to say that seeing something does help one believe there'll be success.
Well, sure, but I mean, see, this is kind of like a combination of what they have done in college, what some of these guys have done in the pros, and some of it's a little bit of projection about what they're going to continue to do in the pros. All right, that's kind of I'm going to expand it to that. All right, so at quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, I believe right now. Look, there's no comparison as far as if you had to take. I don't care what A.J. McCarron did at Alabama. Or
If
what
you
he's
take
done
the
in the
college
pros.
tape, though, it's also not close.
Dwayne Haskins is going to be a fine football player. What's going to happen to him really is going to be more predicated on what the Washington Redskins overall do to him than what he does to himself. I firmly believe that. As far as these rosters overall, look, the wide receiver position, Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. Julio Jones is the standard. If you go and look in the NFL front offices and look in their scouting books, every team has a standard at every position that they put for scouts to kind of shoot for as far as when they're scouting people. Julio is going to be on that list for many, many teams. He's about as good as it gets. So the skill positions at Alabama are awesome. The defensive players at Ohio State is what stands out for me as far as their front seven is concerned, particularly their defensive line. And their secondary, look, Denzel Ward and Marshawn Lattimore, you tell me a team that wouldn't take those two young men right now and start them.
Jonathan, let me ask you a specific question since you spent some time as an analyst watching these players at the collegiate level. If you had to choose either of this group, Alabama or Ohio State, whose players really got better or who took a bigger step forward than you anticipated when they got to the NFL, does either stand out to you?
To answer your last part, no, neither stand out. They're pretty equal because watching these guys, like watching Jonathan Allen, he played well. Dante Hightower, you knew he was going to be a tremendous player, defensive player. C.J. Mosley, the same thing. And then you go to the other side and you look at Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Darren Lee, like Malcolm Jenkins. I played with Malcolm Jenkins in New Orleans. We knew he was going to be a stud. He's still a stud. But what is surprising is how fast Ohio State defense is. I did not realize how fast their defense is. You think Big Ten, you think big, brawly guys, not so fast, but these guys can move. Joey Bosa can move. Nick Bosa can move. Darren Lee, we know, is a burner. Malcolm Jenkins can move. Denzel Ward, Marshall. I mean, that is a very, very talented, athletic, fast defense.
You know, I just want to jump in here real quick. I think that was a great question, Wendy, about as far as what teams have players that have gotten better in the pros. If you look at Ohio State, just look at their offense in particular. Michael Thomas was a good wide receiver at Ohio State. He's fantastic now. He's going to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Andrew Norwell, most people wouldn't even know who Andrew Norwell was from Andrew Doorbell. He right now.
Have you been waiting all day to use that? You've been waiting all day.
And running.
I'm just telling you this.
Nicely done, Lewis.
I'm going to tell you this. Andrew Norwell
He
is
can't
one of the
have
highest
fun.
paid offensive linemen in the NFL,
really
offensive guard. And he's spectacular. And even on the defensive side of the ball, I didn't think Marshawn Lattimore. I liked Marshawn Lattimore at Ohio State. I didn't love Marshawn. He has taken his game to another level as well. And then really on Alabama's side, you know how I feel about Alabama and how I feel about Nick and what he does and how he builds his program. But really, look, focus on their offensive line in particular.
I was just looking at that.
And
Good
think
training.
about that question that Wendy asked. How many players have gotten better? How many players have continued to improve? Andre Smith may have saw his best days at Alabama. James Carpenter, has he really been a good pro? Ryan Kelly, the jury's still out. He could be, he's a good player. He's a good player already in Indianapolis. DJ Fluker, Was he ever really that guy, that dominant guy? No, he hasn't been. Cam Robinson, maybe the same story. So it's interesting because there have been many people. There have been many people who've hit Alabama and said they get the best out of their players at Alabama, and maybe that's a good discussion.
You gotta look at where people go though, like what teams they're drafted to. You look at Michael Thomas; he falls into a place where he needs an accurate passer, and he's been one of the most accurate passers of all time. So it's also about the place you land in the NFL and how they develop you.
Yeah, ask Josh Rosen. He certainly knows. He knows that all too well. All right, Tim Hasselbeck. The whole point of this is to pick one of these two.
I'm going to mess up our producers here a little bit because I think we talked a little bit about some of that. I'm going Alabama. Mainly
Did you change your mind?
Because they actually have a quarterback that's played in the NFL.
But you knew that.
You're just trying to stick your point. Take the landing.
But I think Lou makes a great point about the offensive line at Alabama. Because, so many of them, when you look at them, just in terms of body type, you're like, oh my God. Like you look at those guys body type wise. But yeah, I don't know that some of those guys have come in and been like, oh, and they got a whole lot better. Listen, we're obviously splitting hairs here on this, but I'm going Alabama.
Lewis.
Sorry, Nick.
Oh.
I'm going with Ohio State.
Special.
Upset special.
Wow.
Did you change your mind or did you stick to what you said?
One, because I don't care if Dwayne Haskins hasn't played in the pros yet. I don't even think he's in the same stratosphere as A.J. McCarron. So I like that. I like that their offensive line, one of the things I talked about, and how they have developed those guys. And on the defensive side, look, their front four plus their secondary, I'm just going with them.
Ryan Clark, you have to pick one.
Well, I was brought here for one reason and one reason only, Wendy Nix, because everyone knew what my answers would be. And what Tim Hasselbeck has proven is you don't need a quarterback to win in this. We only have to beat Ohio State and Alabama that don't have quarterbacks. Guess what? We don't need a quarterback. And by the way,
and you don't have one.
First off, our quarterback was good enough for Bill Belichick, your boy, to draft him as Tom Brady's heir apparent.
He didn't draft him
when
as his
Jimmy
heir
Garoppolo got gone, they went to LSU because they know this guy has what it takes.
Wait a second.
Look at our.
I'm sorry, they drafted Jarrett Stidham this year too.
We can throw the ball all around the field. Andrew Whitworth, he's played 1,000 years. He's protecting your guy, Jared Goff. Look at this. Danielle Hunter, the man has like -2% body fat. Michael Brockers out there balling. Arden Key, we gotta wait on him, but it's coming. We got the fastest. Hey, you want to talk about speed, Jonathan Vilma? Jonathan Vilma, you want to talk about speed at the backer position? That's all we got. And man, I ain't even got to get here. I don't even have to get to the DBs.
Listen, I wish you had a little more conviction when you spoke. Other than that.
Listen, seriously, I was going to go with Ohio State until Tim said they didn't have quarterbacks.
I love your 22. I question your toughness.
Whoa!
That 22, I question their toughness.
Wow.
And I've seen it too.
Hold your fire. Hold your fire. Because you know what? We need another country heard from here. Landon Collins is with us. Fair enough. He's an Alabama alum. Landon, dare you wade into this circus that we've created? But what do you have to say about this whole debate?
Ryan got some good stuff going on. I would say I wouldn't question his toughness at all. I don't know why you question Ryan's toughness. I saw him knock out a lot of people.
LSU's toughness, not Ryan's.
Alabama's always #1, no matter what. Roll Tide roll. Come on now.
All right, Landon, let me ask you a serious question. Obviously Nick Saban is a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever coach this game. But specifically, what does he do that has allowed such historic success at the University of Alabama?
As a coach, he speaks for, as a coach, he represents his players as a players coach. I would say he makes sure all his players are underneath him as a player, as a father, and as a man. He tried to teach us to be a man and a great player all at one time, so he does it all.
Landon, can you please tell the people why you are now better that you have trusted your career to training with a guy from LSU?
Hey, Ryan, you're a great trainer, bro. Been gone 4 years strong.
See?
And hey, I can't deny you doing your thing.
Wendy Nix, he even knew. He said, you know what?
Why you gotta say even? What is this? He even knew. He seems qualified.
I feel like there's a lot of hate.
No hate.
No hate. Nothing but love.
A lot of talent on that 22.
Nothing but love.
A lot of talent.
All right, Landon's going to stick around because we're going to talk DBs here in a minute. In fact, we have a jam-packed Obviously, passionate show ahead, so stay with us. Coming up, we'll talk quarterback you and highlight some of the best colleges to produce NFL quarterbacks. And a little bit later, we have a look back at the top NFL plays in college football. We've got broken tackles, one-handed catches, and plays you have to see to believe. And Miami finished last season 7-6, but new head coach Manny Diaz has bigger visions for this season. He sits down with us to talk all things Hurricanes, and you don't want to miss it.